just get back in my spot here. I just went for a walk in the rain. Speaking of Earth Day celebrations, seems like it's always raining here, and I'm exhausted and didn't want to go, but you know how that goes. You go and then you feel better. So here I am. Sorry if I'm a little wet looking, but it was well worth it. I'm going to be talking about some more Earth Day books. Super exciting. So I'm going to start with The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, which I'm sure everybody knows that story. Such a classic, such a good book. Love Shel Silverstein's poetry. Usually very comical in nature, and then he writes this children's book, which is really deep if you read it and give it lots of thought. And I think that children can get quite deep in their thinking with it too, with some adult assistance. So I love this product. I love it for any time of year, but I love it for Earth Day because the little boy and the tree are such good friends, but then life kind of takes the boy through a journey which takes him away from the tree, and then he uses the resource of the tree for so many different things without regard for what the tree needs or what the tree is getting out of their relationship. So it's just such a beautiful story about friendship and how friendship is a give and take, and if it's a take, then what does that mean about the friendship? And I mean, you can just go in a million different places. But for this product on Teacher Pay Teacher, it has more of a focus on writing than anything else, but also a lot of deep thinking involved in that writing. So the beautiful thing about this product is it comes with APE posters, answer, prove, explain posters, bright, colorful, sun ray background with bright colors. There's an A poster, a P poster, and an E poster, and there's posters that go in between that have the sentence starters and what a student is supposed to have in each of those sections of their written response pieces for writing about their reading. And I absolutely love using APPE for students because it's so structured that then they go to take any kind of a assessment, whether it be in science or social studies or ELA, even in math, and they know that they answer it. Then they use some kind of text-based evidence, whether that be text or a graph or a map, and then they explain how that piece of evidence actually proves their answer. And so I love that. They can use it for everything. They can use it from the time that they learn it all the way through adulthood, high school, college, adulthood, to really give good, strong written responses. So I love APE, APPE, and this product comes with those posters and those resources. So that's wonderful. Then it moves from that to a written response so they can practice their APE that poses the question, is the Giving Tree a happy story or a sad story? So they really have to be persuasive in their response. And so when they're choosing their text-based evidence, they have to really be thoughtful in choosing parts that are actually quite sad if they're saying that this is a sad story, or actually quite happy if they're saying it's a happy story. So it requires some deep thinking and then some interpretation and some inference as well. So lots of strong conversations with students on whether or not the Giving Tree is a happy or a sad story. So I love that. Then it moves into a written piece about theme. What is the theme on whether or not the Giving Tree is a happy or a sad story? So I love that. Then it moves into a written piece about theme. What is the theme of the Giving Tree? And then it gives some theme ideas. If you have a student that is stuck, you can help them out, give them a few ideas to choose from, help them find the evidence. But also they could just choose the theme that they think and then find the evidence, because we know that multiple themes live in books. But just so you know, the product does come with some ideas for that. Then it moves into author's purpose. Why did Shel Silverstein write this book? Was it to entertain us? Was it to inform us about something? Was it to persuade us to think a certain way? So a lot of deep conversations come from author's purpose, and then they have to choose what they think the author's purpose was and then prove it with evidence. So as you can see, there is a bit of a theme going on in this product where this very simple children's book is not very simple if you pull it apart and look at it and think about it deeply. And there's so many different ways to do that. The beautiful thing is that you could do it one of those things, two of those things, three of those things, one of those things at the beginning of the year, one in the middle, one in the end, one this year, one next year. Whatever your setup is, the product just is going to keep giving and giving and giving, just like the giving tree did. I hope this shadow is not distracting. I feel like one side of my face looks completely different than the other, but it could just be from my point of view, hopefully. So anyway, hope not. Then from Author's Purpose, there's a game, like a engineering challenge game where they have to transport apples, which are pom-poms, using a spoon, no hands. Oh my God, so fun. That is in there as well. And I know there's something else. Let me check my notes. I don't want to forget. Oh, yes. A couple different things. So another thing is a poetry connection. So they take some of Shel Silverstein's other books, the popular books, like Where the Sidewalk Ends and those thicker poetry books, and they choose a poem, and then they compare and contrast the poem that they chose with the book. Super cool. Talk about tone in that lesson, talk about figurative language in that lesson, talk about why authors may choose a different tone for a different piece. So many deep learnings there. There's also a poetry lesson where they write a poem about being a BFF, best friend forever. And it's very structured, so it tells them what they need to have on line 1, and line 2, and line 3, and so on in their poem. And when you teach poetry that structured, kids love it. And usually they're like, can I write another one? Can I write another one? Because it becomes less, just less scary for them. So that's awesome too. And there may be a few other things in there. But I've been talking for a long time and we have a lot of Earth Day books, so I'm going to stop it there. But I appreciate you so much. I know Kylie does too. We wish we could be together doing this, but we're going to do the best we can in these separated locations. And we love and appreciate you. So stay tuned. I've got 2 more Earth Day books. All my love.
But most definitely not least is my favorite one that I've done throughout this section of Earth Day books. Is Our Planet, There's No Place Like Earth. And this is by Stacey McAultney. And I just, first of all, love this story because of the illustrations. You just have to see how cute this earth is. Hang on, my fingers will work here. I'm gonna find you a cute picture where the earth is happy. I mean, it's adorable. But it goes through all the earth and how we impact the earth. So it's kind of from the earth's perspective, which is super awesome. And this one is related a lot to the carbon footprint. So the product goes into detail about what a carbon footprint is. It has some graphs, some pie graphs to show where our earth is using the most energy. And that's a great visual for students to see what's happening in the world and why the earth is being impacted. They then get to do a carbon footprint quiz, which is really cool because they get to see where they're using the most and what they can do better. So they take this quiz and they add up all their points, and there's a little key on there to show you where you fall, like you're doing really well, or there's some things you can work on, or oh goodness, let's reflect. So that's nice for them to see too on their own personal everyday life. There's a writing reflection for that part as well, and there's a little foot graphic organizer on there that they get to say what things they would change and how they're greatly impacting the earth, which is awesome. There's persuasive writing and essay or story on this one as well. So it takes you through each part of that persuasive writing, and you're trying to persuade someone to be kinder to the earth. So using the things out of this book will also help them to convince that person. So taking the proof out of this story is a great idea as well. That being said, the persuasive piece of this goes through each part of an essay. So a hook, and it shows you a bunch of different hooks, has them practice them, and then it goes into paragraph writing. And we use the word earth in this paragraph writing to represent each different part of the paragraph. So you're explaining, your rebuttal, your answer, all those things, but using the letters of earth to show them the parts of the paragraph. So it's really nice in terms of breaking down the paragraph writing and allowing them to piece it back together at the end. It doesn't seem so overwhelming when you ask a student to write a paragraph or an essay when it's broken down into those different sections. So cute little writing pages for that too, that they get to write their essay or their story on. And just really nice to get them thinking about, how can I make the world better? Because that's what it's all about. Earth Day is all about the earth and our impact on it. So make the world a better place. You're beautiful humans. Bye.
I stubbed my toe. Oh my goodness gracious. Hi everybody, it's Stacy B Sunshine. Super excited to be here. I am in my spare room, pink walls, my happy place. I'm going to talk to you about an Earth Day book that we have on our Teacher Pay Teacher store called Today I Am a River, and it is a compilation of a bunch of different nature poems, perfect for Earth Day, perfect for poetry unit, perfect for beginning of the year, end of the year, anytime really, but just perfect for Earth Day because it goes through and there's a poem written about many different things that you see in nature. Here's a poem about the river, tree, spider, you get the snake, all the things that we find in nature. And so, super fun book. In the product on Teacher Pay Teacher, there's a heavy emphasis on poetry because this is a poetry book, but there's a lot more to it than that. So I'm going to use my notes more than normal just because I do not want to miss anything, and there's just a lot of pieces to this that are short and to the point, but that means there's many things, so I just want to make sure that I am hitting them all. So there is a lesson in here to help the kids write a nature pyramid poem. There's a nature word art activity where they take a word, like if they took a word tree, then they create art that looks like a tree using the word tree. If they could use the word spider and draw a spider with the word spider, and it's just super cool. And sometimes the kids come up with things that we could never think of or do because they're just so creative, and if we give them the outlet to do that, they wow us every time. Today I Am nature poems, different than the nature pyramid poem, so there's two different things. There's a sensory word piece of the Today I Am poem where you're given a bunch of sensory words on cards, and then the kids could use those cards to create their poems, or at least help them to come up with some new vocabulary for their poems. There's a draw a nature object activity in there with the directions, a nature imagery art lesson, and then for those art pieces, there are reflection pieces, some written prompts where they can reflect on the things that they've done. There's a moving poetry game with all the directions, where they are using motion and memory to act out their poem or a poem, and super fun, different take on poetry that some kids really appreciate. They like to get up, they like to move. Your introverted kids will push back a little bit sometimes on it, but then once they get in there and get comfortable, then they actually end up loving it as well. So just pushing kids a little bit, challenging them a little bit to get out of their comfort zones, but not so much that it's scary, and just lots of structure and supports so it doesn't seem too scary. And then there's a narrative writing piece, a day in the life of. So they get to choose something in nature and write, and then they actually end up loving it as well. So just pushing kids a little bit, challenging them a little bit to get out of their comfort zones, but not so much that it's scary, and just lots of structure and supports so it doesn't seem too scary. And then there's a narrative writing piece, a day in the life of. So they get to choose something in nature and write a narrative from that nature's perspective. So a day in the life of a spider, what would that look like? A day in the life of a rainbow, what would that look like? A day in the life of an octopus. So it's a perspective piece. So you're talking about perspective, which is also always an awesome lesson. And then how do you do that? How do you create narrative for that thing in nature and have it make sense, but be a story as well? So love all of those pieces. Love this book. Love the art. Love the author's choices of which things. I keep opening up to that snake. This one is clouds. Oh, I love having conversations about clouds. So just lots of cool activities in that one. So I am going to leave you at that. Love and appreciate you, Stacy from Be Sunshine, and I will be back with my last book, The Rain Came Down by David Shannon. Love him. There are just so many good books out there. So many good books. And Be Sunshine has so many of them on their teacher store with so many activities, with so many possibilities for each one that you could buy a product and then use it in so many different ways. So it's like the biggest bang for your buck. I promise you, you will be like, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff here. And we know time is not our friend in education, right? It's like the days whip by and the time periods that we have for different subject areas whip by. But so many of these products can work for ELA and science, ELA and math, ELA and social studies, and almost all of them, if not all of them, tie in writing. We always have lots of writing, movement, game, STEM, just pack, promise you. Okay, the rain came down. I just went for a walk in the rain. Been walking in the rain every night this week because it doesn't seem to want to do anything here in my town besides rain. David Shannon, we all know David from David Shannon. Well, this is a different story. The rain came down, but just as cute. And it's just a rainy day, and it's a cause and effect book. So because the rain was coming down, everyone's plans had to change, and it has this rolling effect of this happens because that happened, this happens, and because that happened, this happens. So we all know those kinds of books, and it seems like they're geared toward the littles. And boy, God, it is, I mean, use it with the littles. They love it. But old children's books can be stretched. And if you get in deep with the book and the themes of the books and the subject matter in the books, you can go so many places. It's like the world is your oyster. So the rain came down. 5th grade, which is what I teach and what Kylie teaches. I'm going back to special education next year. I'm so excited. But anyway, for this year, still in 5th grade. And we have standards that have to do with the water cycle. So this very simple book can be used as a catalyst, makes everybody feel comfortable, seems like everything you're doing is doable because this is a fun-loving book about the rain, and then you can get in the water cycle with them. The rain came down, yes. How? What? Where does it come from? Where does it go? Does it ever run out? Etc., 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 etc. That's just one example of how, you can take a simple book and then use it to meet your standards. So anyhow, in The Rain Came Down, water cycle in a bottle. Read this book, talk about the water cycle, do the hands-on science activity, water cycle in a bottle. It's wonderful, it's awesome. Cloud in a jar. Love it. Simple, simple, simple. But everything that you use in that represents a part of the water cycle. So what a safe, fun way to introduce the simple, 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 but everything that you use in that represents a part of the water cycle. So what a safe, fun way to introduce the water cycle, even for some kids that are a little bit older. They love it. When they see the food coloring of their color in their group push through the cloud, the shave cream, into the clear water, they're like, oh, right? They're just like, they love it. And then they keep going, and then they see their friend's color coming down, and then why is it coming down? Why did it sit there for a while before it came down? All the things. That is in there. Making a rain stick. So crafty, cultural conversation. Where did rain sticks come from? Why did people make rain sticks? How do you make a rain stick? How does it make that sound? What do we have to put in there in order for the sound to make this sound or that sound? Can we make it make a different sound? So 2 different ways to make rain sticks in the product. There is a section on rain idioms. So there's an idiom. What does it say if you took the words literal? What does it mean as figurative language? So a good figurative language lesson in there with many different idioms that have to do with rain, not just it's raining cats and dogs. There's a bunch of them. And then there's in there a lesson on writing a rain chant poem where it's rain is, rain is, rain is, and it keeps going. Super cool, super fun. And then there's a cause effect where they write a story using cause and effect about a rainy day. So what happened to cause something else to happen, but then something else happens and something else happens. So they're writing a story, but they're using the same story structure as the rain came down. So I can't tell you how exciting literature is to me and how creating products is a passion of mine, but just that I appreciate you. I love you. I cannot wait to get to know you better, and I hope you just continue watching and following Be Sunshine. And I hope that Kylie or I or both of us have made you smile. And thank you so much. This is a heart.